I forgot the part of the movie that absolutely traumatized me was when that house got up and started walking, and then it started running. It gave me the same feeling as when I realized zombies could run. I was so used to The Walking Dead and zombies being slow and staggering, tripping over themselves, falling down. They really flipped the script and changed the game when they introduced zombies that could sprint. It turned my whole world upside down. But back to the movie that I'm going to be talking about today. It was already creepy that the house could move, change its facial expression, swallow people whole, manipulate nature, the grass, the trees, the wind to its will. But getting up and being able to chase after people, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Join me as I talk about one of the sources of my childhood nightmares. This is 2006 Monster House. We meet our main character, DJ. He's in that awkward phase. He's not a child, but he's not quite an adult. I don't even think he's a teenager. I'm pretty sure he's a preteen. And he's in between two stages of life, a child and a teenager. But basically, the story follows DJ and he notices that something is off with the Monster House. Around the same time each year, the Monster House starts to act up, and it just so happens it becomes more active around Halloween. It's not yet a monster house or referred to as a monster house. It's the house that Mr. Nevercracker lives in. Now, Mr. Nevercracker is the embodiment of the stereotype of the old man who doesn't want anyone to get on his lawn or be on his lawn, and he's angry all the time and he's yelling and the veins are popping out on his neck. You know, he just seems so miserable. And this is all on the surface.
Do you want to be eaten alive?
So DJ lets his curiosity get the best of him. Like I said, he's in that preteen awkward phase where you want to be grown up and you want to be treated like a grown up, but you're still super childish and have childlike tendencies. DJ, alongside his friend Chowder, investigate and go up to Mr. Nevercracker's house. Mr. Nevercracker catches the boys in the act and he goes off on them, and he ends up overexerting himself and collapsing to the ground. After calling for an ambulance, they take Mr. Nevercracker away on a stretcher, and the boys genuinely believe that Mr. Nevercracker is dead, since when they take Mr. Nevercracker away on the ambulance, there were no sirens going off.
I'm a murderer. When it's an accident, they call it manslaughter.
The boys come to the conclusion that the spirit of Mr. Nevercracker has possessed the Monster House. At this point, the Monster House does not seem happy at all, and it is obvious it doesn't want Mr. Nevercracker to leave. The Monster House was already irritated, but now since Mr. Nevercracker is gone, it's taken on a whole new life, and it's becoming even more antagonistic. The Monster House directs the majority of its anger and its anguish on DJ. DJ is being tormented and targeted by the Monster House through his nightmares. He keeps getting these phone calls where he answers the phone and no one's speaking, so he assumes it's the Monster House. It's quickly turning into psychological warfare. But all of this does not discourage DJ or his friend Chowder from investigating the Monster House further. During the ding-dong ditch where they ring the doorbell and then they run away, the Monster House comes alive and attacks the boys. DJ and Chowder are able to get away just in time. There are also several scenes of items from the neighborhood, like a basketball here, a bicycle there, being absorbed into the front lawn of the Monster House. The imagery is beyond creepy. But now the Monster House is absorbing and snatching up dogs and people. DJ believes that he is next, and before the Monster House comes after him, he's going to make the first move. This whole time, these kids are taking on the Monster House directly without getting the adults involved. DJ's parents are conveniently out of town, and DJ's babysitter, Elizabeth, can't be trusted. She has this sweet, good girl image that she presents to the adults, but her true personality comes out when the adults are gone. Now she goes by Z, and she has this whole alternative, anti-authority energy about her. You know, she does what she wants. She even invited her boyfriend Bones over to DJ's house, and it's a hot mess. Bones ends up being snatched by the Monster House, which was satisfying since he was very disrespectful towards Z. He even called her a prude because she wouldn't do what he wanted her to do at DJ's house, and it's a mess. They're a mess. DJ and Chowder manage to save Jenny Bennett, the traveling chocolate sales girl, from getting eaten up by the Monster House. They watch a dog get snatched up by the Monster House, and they are worried since today is Halloween and the Monster House is becoming more and more active. So they do end up calling the police, and when they call the cops, the Monster House calms down. And Jenny even refers to the Monster House as a smart house. When the cops fail to help, DJ reaches out to another adult or adult-like figure in their life and they refer to this person as the expert. His name is Skull, and he's a hardcore gamer. DJ and Chowder believe the house is Mr. Nevercracker, and that they are being targeted since they were the ones who killed Mr. Nevercracker. Skull gives the boys advice. In order to kill the monster house, they must strike at the source of life, the heart, and they determine that this is the furnace. Ever since Mr. Nevercracker died, the furnace has been burning in the monster house. Their plan is ruined by the cops, who end up coming back, and the cops decide to take the kids to jail. But before they do, the cops end up getting snatched up and eaten by the monster house. The monster house then tries to eat the cop car whole with the kids inside. Again, this imagery is terrifying. The kids manage to avoid being eaten, but now they're stuck inside the monster house. The inside of the house does resemble a human body. It reminded me of the quote, "Your body is a temple," but in reverse. The temple is a body.
Find the heart, put out the fire. Got it.
The kids find a shrine to Mr. Nevercracker's wife, Constance. And right when they are about to get swallowed, Jenny pulls the uvula and makes the monster house throw up. They are now outside the monster house and they're safe for now. This is when Mr. Nevercracker comes back from the hospital.
Honey? I'm home.
And we see that the monster house is so excited for his return. Mr. Nevercracker reveals that his house is being possessed by his wife, Constance, and the backstory to their love story is very, very sweet. So Constance was one of the acts at a circus freak show, and it looks like Mr. Nevercracker was in deployment and he attended the freak show with his unit or other members of the military, and he fell in love with her at first sight, and he told her he could take her away from all of this, and of course she agreed to leave with him, and he literally attached her cage that she was trapped in to his car or to his truck and drove away. Constance is happy with her new life, but she's obviously traumatized by her experience at the freak show. Her death is criminal. She is triggered by some kids who are coming around throwing eggs at their house, and this was common back in this era, back in this time. I've never seen this or heard of this in my lifetime, but kids were throwing eggs at her and at the house, and it likely reminded her of when people used to throw food and tomatoes at her when she was a part of the freak show. So she trips and falls, and cement is then poured over her body. Mr. Nevercracker leaves her body down there and he finishes building the house. You know, he essentially built a house on his wife's grave. I would not have left her body down there. She passed away on Halloween, so it makes sense that her spirit and the monster house would become more active on the anniversary of her death, especially when kids are known to throw eggs at her or at the house around that time of year. I guess I am familiar with it, like vandalizing during Halloween. I've just never seen it myself.
She died, but she didn't leave.
How triggering. Her spirit can't properly rest. Mr. Nevercracker is essentially living in and on top of a graveyard, his wife's graveyard. This is spooky. And Mr. Nevercracker is actually a very sweet and kind man, but he must take on this mean old man stereotype and yell at everyone who comes near his house since he knows his wife. He knows that she will attack anyone who comes near, and she is the most active around the same time each year, Halloween, the anniversary of her death. After the kids hear Mr. Nevercracker's story, DJ encourages Mr. Nevercracker to let her go. He needs to let Constance go.
But if I let her go, I'll have no one.
And what happens next is the stuff of nightmares. Constance can't let Mr. Nevercracker go, and he can't let her go. When Mr. Nevercracker finally decides to leave and to walk away, this is when the monster house becomes mobile, and they are all chased. And at one point, the monster house even attacks Mr. Nevercracker. And I'm like, wait a minute, Constance, that's your husband. Can't you recognize that's your husband? It just seems like, you know, this vengeful, angry spirit really took over. So they all end up at this construction site, and the monster house follows them to the construction site, and it ends up crumbling and falling and tripping over itself. And I thought it was all over, but no. It takes on the materials at the construction site and becomes an even more massive entity. Jenny kisses DJ and encourages him, and he's going to need it to take on the monster house. They also had a moment earlier where they hugged to celebrate too, and I just felt a bit bad for Chowder. And speaking of Chowder, the monster house snatches Chowder by his cape, and it reminded me of The Incredibles and how Edna talked about how impractical it is for heroes to wear capes because of this. We see an example of this in this movie. DJ uses the bomb dynamite that he got from Mr. Nevercracker to target the furnace or the heart of the house. The monster house blows up. Somehow the kids are safe and make it out alive. I just can't see how that was possible. I mean, DJ set off a massive bomb issued by the United States military at a construction site, but you know, movie magic. Our main character is here moaning in the distance, and we see Mr. Nevercracker dancing with the ghost of his wife, Constance. She disappears before him, and by destroying the monster house, it seems her spirit was also set free. Mr. Nevercracker says goodbye, and he starts sobbing and
I'm sorry, Mr. Nevercracker, about your house and your wife. Your housewife.
it wasn't just Constance not being able to move on. Since her spirit was earthbound, Mr. Nevercracker couldn't move on either. Constance and Mr. Nevercracker were trapped in grief for 45 long years, but now they're free. And he's so grateful to be free, and it's beautiful to see. And this movie reminded me of why I want to be cremated, because I'll be darned if my spirit gets attached and trapped and bound to this earth. I'm already a vengeful person. I don't want to be a vengeful spirit. So Mr. Nevercracker, Jenny, Chowder, and DJ give out all the items that the monster house has taken over the years to the neighborhood kids, and this is a part of their treat during trick or treat since it is Halloween. Jenny, Chowder, and DJ, these kids have been on an absolute adventure, and they acknowledge that they're too old to trick or treat but decide to reward themselves by trick or treating anyway, as they should. These kids showed a lot of maturity, especially near the end when dealing with the monster house and finding the truth behind Mr. Nevercracker, so it is nice to see them be as free and childish as they want to be now that everything has been resolved. One of the most disturbing aspects of this movie is that the monster house takes on a new life and a new meaning of a haunted house. The monster house is essentially a house that was built on top of the graveyard of an angry spirit that was never properly put to rest. This spirit was Constance, who lived a deeply traumatic life, and she died a tragic death. I mean, Constance, her whole life was tragic. I do think she was trying to hold on to one of the best things in her life, her husband, Mr. Nevercracker. This is the man who took her away from the circus. He took care of her, bought some land, and was in the process of building a house for them to start fresh. And just like when she was alive and she couldn't let her past trauma go, in death, she also couldn't let Mr. Nevercracker go. She never moved on, and the feeling was mutual since Mr. Nevercracker couldn't let go either. And I don't fully blame Constance since she received no proper burial. Her spirit was never put to rest, literally. And we think of the living not being able to let go, but I like how this movie shows the idea and possibility of the dead not being able to let go.
Well, we've always known this day would come, haven't we?
I couldn't help but ask, is there something deeper here? This is a story about grief, loss, distorted memories, holding on to the past, and not letting go on both sides, for the dead and for the living. What else is this movie about? There is a bit of romance in this movie, but I was so distracted by the whole prolonged grieving being painfully portrayed that I hardly paid any attention to the romance between our main character DJ, the male lead, and the female lead, Jenny. You know, this movie could be symbolic of grief. It is about who and what gets left behind. Houses hold memories and they hold energy. You know, what came up for me when watching this movie is that I still remember back in college when my dad passed away, and I remember coming back home during break. His pictures were still on the wall. His suits that he would wear to church and to whatever event he had going on were hung up in the hallway closet. I would walk into my parents' room. I could still smell his cologne and his deodorant. On the wall, I would see his collection of hats that he liked to keep around. Everything was how he left it. It really did feel on some level that he was still here because everything was how he left it. It was like he had never passed away in the first place. You know, this was uncomfortable for me in some ways, but it was also very comfortable because it allowed me to be delusional and to really think and really imagine and visualize that my dad was still here. He had never left me. He's still alive. I became comfortable in that delusion, but this movie is a testament to how far I've come because I no longer feel that way. Thankfully, gratefully, I've forgotten all about this feeling and how I used to feel, especially when I was fresh in grief. I was freshly grieving and my dad had just passed away. I forgot all of this. This movie was a beautiful reminder of the progress I've made, and I know countless other people have made because, like I said, people die every day, and that means there are more and more people grieving every day. And I think that part gets left out. Like, yes, people die every day, but people are also grieving every single day. I truly felt alone in the beginning. I used to have had to take it day by day, or not even day by day. I used to have to take it hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second to get through my days. And now I can go about my day. I've reached, this certain level of peace and joy in my life that I never thought was possible when my dad first passed away. So death and grief and sadness and prolonged grieving, it's serious. If you find yourself grieving for longer than a year, and when I say grieving, like I'm still grieving, but like that whole, I have to convince myself, and I can feel myself becoming delusional, imagining that this person is still here. And I showed up to the funeral. I saw them lower my dad in the grave. I know where he's buried. My family and I visit his graveyard. We clean it up every so often. So I know he's gone. But back then I was a bit delusional, and I was very comfortable in that delusional state. It did get a bit dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I mean like that whole prolonged grieving and grieving beyond, I think it's a year for prolonged grieving. And there are levels to grief and grieving. And like I said, I'm still grieving, and I will likely be grieving for the rest of my life, the loss of my father, but it's different. How I feel now with grief versus when I was freshly grieving, totally different mindset. And yeah, this movie was a reminder, a beautiful, beautiful reminder of how far I've come. So, and this is what came up for me when watching this movie, especially near the end. This movie was scary and heartbreaking, but also beautiful and serene, just like death. Notice how, although Mr. Nevercracker was sad when he realized his wife's spirit had finally moved on, his tears of sadness turned into tears of joy. He felt free for the first time in 45 years. Mr. Nevercracker is a prime example of prolonged grief and what happens if you never let go and you never move on after death.
Oh, my dear. Goodbye.
Now I want to answer the question, how good did this movie make me feel and why? This movie was a testament to how far I've come and how far so many people, countless people have come. People die every day, and this essentially means that there are people grieving every day. When my dad first passed away, I truly saw no way out and no way to be happy and to be joyful, to live in this world where he is no longer here. I no longer feel that way. I recognize that I've come so far and I still have a long way to go. But I've made a lot of progress over the past 6 years since my dad has been gone. I've forgotten, and this movie was a beautiful reminder. Not only that, I loved how this movie showed the importance of letting go and moving on after you experience loss. Yes, take your time, but don't take 45 long years to let your loved ones go. Death and dying can be both a beautiful experience of the circle of life, but it can also be tragic and traumatic. It is all of these things and more. Sometimes less, depends on you. That being said, I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. Despite how creepy and how scary this movie is, it's a coming of age story with a sprinkle of romance that reminded me of how far I've come. Death can be life-changing, and for me, it changed my whole world, my perspective, my beliefs, my goals, my energy, everything. I'm still here, and I found reasons to keep on going and reasons to keep moving forward. It took years, but a win is a win. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on my thoughts? Do you remember watching Monster House when it first came out? What do you think about death, grief, grieving, loss, the circle of life? Let me know down below. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.